Well, at present, we only have two of the actual board members, at least as far as I can tell. We have, I heard Cheryl, though I'm not seeing.
Cheryl's here,
Jack,
but she's muted.
Jack, I'm here. I'm just on audio. My internet on Davidson Hill Road is really unstable, so I get these messages all the time.
You, we have a raise hand functionality here, which you can use obviously if you're on straight audio. You see Ricky, Lynn, Liz, Josh, advisory member Grafton, John Turner, David Major, who's on the advisory board from Westminster, but I'm still missing Jess. Jess, are you there? Nope. And I'm missing both Lynn and Charles. So this may be short. All right, well, here we go. So we are in hold mode at this point. It is, I think, just a scotch past 6:30, but we will hold up until I'm going to go briefly and check to see if there's anything on my to tell us if there's people are having problems. So
I would imagine Jessa will be able to get on, and Melissa said she's comfortable with Zoom as well.
This is Lynn Morgan.
there we go.
Hi, Lynn.
Great.
Hi there. My computer doesn't seem to like Zoom. It's still in the thinking mode.
Are you?
Safari.
Like Safari with me either. I went on, switched over to a Firefox browser. We may have to do a little work on that, or have everybody install the same browser. I think Chrome is what it's optimal.
I'll see if I can get into there. Okay, close that down.
And I see Melissa. Hi, Melissa.
Hello.
So we do have semi-functional quorum. We're still seeing if Charles is able to get on, and who are we missing? And Jess at this point.
Right.
So.
Right.
All right. So we'll.
Charles will have to be a call-in because he doesn't have.
Is C. Hutchinson? Is that Charles?
I'm not sure who Charles is, but I'm Charles Hutchinson from Westminster West Advisory Board.
Hi, I'm Jack Breyer. I'm the chair of this happy collective. Good to meet you virtually. There you are. Oh, hi, Charles. You and I talked.
Hi, Charlie.
Not that.
And I'll mute in a minute, but just to say hello.
Well, I'm going to give Lynn a minute to reconnect. Lynn,
I'm right here.
Okay, well then we have that. We're going to do some test driving of this tomorrow and the next day, so that we make sure everybody can be fully functional, and we will do that. That stated, I'm going to at 6:35 call the virtual meeting of the Windham Northeast Unified Elementary School. I always take is ask each person to introduce themselves, and then we're going to walk through a couple of ground rules to keep this from being completely just. We'll walk through the agenda. To everybody. Oops. All right. So, and I am representing Grafton on the board. I'm originally part of the Grafton Elementary School Board. I see Richard. Ricky Adams is on the line. Say hi, Rick. Lynn Carey, who is the superintendent, with Chris, assistant superintendent. Say hi, Lynn.
Hello, good evening. Thanks for coming.
Liz Hardy is the principal at the Grafton Elementary School. Liz, hello.
Hello.
Josh Aberman is here and in his capacity as recording secretary. Josh, say hi if you're able.
Hello, everybody.
John Turner is a representative on the Grafton Advisory Board. John, you want to say hi? John, can we hear you?
Can you hear me?
I can now hear you.
Very good. Thank
Great.
you.
Okay, Doug Kusius is the principal of the Westminster Elementary School. Doug?
Hello, everyone.
And Charles Hutchison, correct, Charles? Is a member of the advisory board in Westminster.
Correct. Hello, everybody.
Don Capicelli is standing in for whoever the Athens board picks as their advisory commission members. I've recommended him and asked him to fill in tonight. Don, say hi if you would.
Hi, Jack. Can you hear me?
We
Jack?
can. Yes, Don, can you hear us?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Cheryl, my colleague in arms from Westminster.
Right, Cheryl Charles. As I said, my internet is a bit unstable with Zoom, even though I've had several Zoom calls today. So I think in the spirit of stability, I'll keep the camera off right now. I'm technically vice chair of this forcibly merged district and represent Westminster.
Steve Fine is, I asked Steve to also step in as sort of, until the Athens Advisory Commission is established. I'm assuming they'll be wise enough to formally pick him. Steve, are you on? Steve, are you with us? Well, I'm hoping he's with us in spirit, if nothing else. And I see Lynn Morgan is on.
I'm
Lynn?
here.
All right. And there's someone on marked iPhone. I don't know who that is.
It might be me, Rick Gordon.
Hi, Rick. How are you? That is you. And is there anyone I have failed to mention?
Melissa?
Oh, Melissa. I'm sorry, Melissa. God, Melissa, please accept my apologies.
No worries.
All right. Is there anybody else I've not mentioned? I see something coming up. I guess that's everybody. Then let us start with first. I want to just ask if anyone has anything that they would like to amend our agenda with tonight.
This is Cheryl, Jack. I think Jess wanted to add a topic, and I think it would fit under COVID-19 scenarios, having to do with issues or questions we would like to ask the state.
Right, and
but I think it will fit under 7C.
I agree with that. I would also add, and it's hard to see these screens because whatever technical issues here. One is organization of materials, and the other is something that I'll call weighting legislation, and I'm not quite sure where to put those because I really am having trouble seeing the screen. Hold on a second. We can put those under what would be, hopefully somebody's got a better screen than I do. Put whatever the number is at the end of this electronic version of the agenda. Here we go. I've got it. We'll put it under new business as a 7D and E.
And what is it, Jack?
Organization of materials, online materials.
Okay.
And and waiting legislation, which we'll only touch on briefly as a mercy to everybody.
That because I got disconnected, and it happens pretty often. So again, that's why I'm not using my camera tonight. So
that's fine. I'm half tempted not to myself. All right. So, did somebody else just join us? It's ringing on and off. It's a little hard to track. All right. So, before we start, I want to just walk through a couple of ground rules. Because this is a little hard for everyone to parse. If someone wants to speak and they are digitally able to raise their hand with the raise their hand feature, I'd like you to use it. That's one. Otherwise, simply identify yourself. In fact, I would like folks to identify themselves whenever they speak. It will just make life easier. The other is the traditional rule of Robert's rule, where people get to speak once on a topic and we round robin before you get to speak again. I'd like to observe that if we can. I want to make certain everybody does get a chance to talk, but it's my goal to keep these meetings to about half an hour, 45 minutes tops, because I think this is an awkward format. If people object to that, we can certainly extend it, but I'm going to be a little bit stopwatchy as we go through all this. If anyone has an objection to that, speak now. This is the time. Hearing no objection, let's move to approval of minutes. Has everybody been able to see the minutes? I'm getting a lot of... everybody seems to be saying yes. They're just doing it silently via the messaging format.
Jack?
Yes.
I do know, I believe I read somewhere when we vote that these votes, because they're virtual, would probably be best if we did a roll call, just of the school board members, and just roll call every decision so that Josh can, say 5 yes, 5 no, but we know everyone voted.
That is correct. David Major is saying that his audio is cutting out. I will tell him, if he can hear any of this, that he can dial in separately using the dial-in ID and listen to the discussion on that. That's what I'm doing. And it's not great, but it works. So consider that. All right. Are there any objections to the minutes that people can see? I'm hearing none. I would all in favor of approving the minutes as no. I'm sorry. Cheryl, you've got something? You do not approve the minutes.
no, that my no was that I had no objections. So you can call for the roll call vote.
Right. Let me call for the roll call. Melissa? Melissa, are you there?
I just unmuted everyone, so they.
I unmuted myself.
All right.
I approve.
You approve. Cheryl, do you approve?
Yes, I do. Both sets of minutes.
Lynn, do you approve?
Yes.
All right. Who have I forgotten? Somebody.
Yourself.
Jess is not here. I'm here. I approve. The minutes are hereby approved.
Great.
Moving on to, oh gosh, this is terrible. Communication and public comments. My greetings to everybody. Does anybody have a comment? If you do, raise your hand or just start talking. I see no raised hands. Okay, so I'm going to assume everybody's observing radio silence. As I said, you are encouraged to ask questions, but we should always remember that the board members have got first dibs on some of this. On to reports. Superintendent, Assistant Superintendent, this is you.
Right. Thanks, Jack. So you can see in your packet the there has been a lot of changes, but when this was written, you'll see the education legislation update that happened on February 26th. And the superintendent, Chris Pratt, put everything in there that was discussed and the plans that are being made. Where these items are going now, we don't know because everything's kind of been pushed in the back burner. But you can see some of the things they're talking about: pupil weighting and the weight of a pupil that we're paying for, Agency of Education school budget information, universal pre-K, proficiency-based education. All these items are there to read. And this all came out of the legislation, the legislative update from the last session. You will see where we right now are working with responding to the coronavirus disease. And the one we're struggling with now is childcare of people who are essential to handling or mitigating these, the health people and the EMTs and all of that. The rest of the information out there is on our website. Chris and I both, since 9 o'clock this morning, have been on Zoom meetings. We've been on Zoom meetings all day. It is overwhelming. He met with the superintendents of the state twice. I met with the curriculum directors this morning for 2 hours. I had a meeting with some people in Brattleboro, a student-based meeting in Brattleboro. I'm gonna mute.
Lynn, I think that was you. Hello?
No,
Huh?
I'm on a phone.
Okay, I don't know. Lynn, I'm sorry we interrupted you. Carry on.
Okay, so
Lynn, carry.
We met with the union, and things are, as you can only imagine, things are changing continually. So right now, the major plan is the teachers are going in tomorrow, staggered. Hang on. Okay. So the teachers will be going in tomorrow, and they are staggered by 2-hour intervals and getting together packets of information or planning for at least 2 to 3 weeks, although the CDC is talking now 4 to 8 weeks. So we really are, it's kind of a day-by-day thing. But we have also, I've been in the office. We keep the office, it's open, but not open to the public. So the central office has less than 10 people working in it. And each school, depending on the size, has a smaller amount. For instance, the high school can probably have 10 teachers come in at a registered time. They're all making appointments, whereas Grafton would probably have 1 teacher or maybe 2 because of the size of the building. So every day the chips are falling and we're picking up the pieces and putting together a plan. One of the hardest things we're working with now are the special ed students. How do we continue the maintenance of their learning when they need special help for that? And we're using all kinds of creative ways to do that. Next week, I'm hoping to put in place grade level meetings where all the first grade teachers across the district could meet on a Zoom and share ideas about what they're doing. Are you FaceTiming your students to listen to them read? Are you, handing out books? Are you calling them? Some districts are actually going to Google Hangouts and having a morning meeting where the kids can click in if they want. So we have a lot of ideas going on. I'd like all the grade levels to meet at different times, but that is when we get in deeper. If it continues past the 2 weeks, we are passing the point where it's just maintaining their education, and we'll become to a point where we need to introduce new strategies, new learning. And so that's going to take all our heads together. But we're not alone. We have all the other districts that we're working. Chris and I are both working at the regional level and the state level to find out what's happening out there and what we can do. Our principals, we've met several times as an admin team with all the principals, and Chris, me, and Andy Haas, and we've brainstormed so many things, and we've been working really hard. The first piece, of course, was getting the food out, and then the packets to the families. Monday's the big day. We're going to run the bus routes and deliver through the bus routes to the families, particularly those that can't drive by, get their lunches, their breakfast and lunches, and their packets. The schedule will be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And on Monday, they'll get 2 days worth of food. Wednesday, 2 days worth of food. And Friday, there'll be extra food for the weekend. So that's where we are now. And I'm going to open it up. Okay, thank you.
Am I hearing any questions? Let me ask two, just because it'll fill the space. One, I saw that Chris had said that he was committing to a March 23rd, having his plan, your collective plan put together. Is that still a date that you're solid with?
That is the, hang on, I'm going to just do this for a minute. That is, you're talking about the collective bargaining plan?
No, this was, I thought that the plan we were.
Oh, okay. We're working on it. Okay, we're trying to figure out.
Sorry, hey guys.
Yeah, Ricky?
This is Doug. When you guys, as administrators, when you unmute, it seems like you're unmuting everybody. That's why we're getting the echo. So just when you unmute to talk, just make sure it's just one person.
Yeah, exactly.
Unmuted.
Okay, so everyone else is muted then, right now. Okay. So I cannot give you the final answer on that because every day it changes. Every day, the governor comes up, he changes things, and then the Secretary of Education, Chris likened it to making bread without flour. They want a product, they want something, but they're not giving us what we need to do it, or they're telling us we can't use these items, but come up with bread. So we're working hard, and the priorities are the food is out there. Now we're getting the resources out, the packets, the teaching, and then we're going to settle back in and look at what are we going to do for the long run, because it may be it may be even longer. So how are we going to be teaching these children remotely? And so I don't know if he has set a deadline of March 23rd, but I wouldn't be surprised. We're meeting next week at the SU at the SU meeting, the WNESU, and hopefully we'll have a lot more answers then.
Does anybody else have a question? Well, either speak up or raise your hand, depending on. Oh, they can't because you've muted them all.
No, I didn't. Everybody's unmuted.
Okay, well, I'm looking at lines through microphones.
Okay, Doug's muted. Melissa, Elizabeth, Charles.
David, I see you're, did you have a question?
No questions, thanks.
Hello?
I think a lot of the feedback coming out from David.
Coming off of me?
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't know.
I'll shut off my computer and just go with the phone.
That would be it. There was two open.
Okay. Okay. So, no questions from me.
All right, Melissa?
No questions.
All right. Cheryl?
I don't have a question at this moment. But I really thank you and Chris and the whole team for all the efforts.
Thank you. And I also need to add the principals have been working overtime on this too.
Oh, absolutely.
So we have literally, I have worked more since school closed than during a normal week of work where everything is paced out and we're, just taking things as they come. Chris has really been straight out, and as I. Ricky is probably the most in-demand person in the district right now. And the principals are great because they're the ones that have the spreadsheets, are working with their teachers, communicating when needed, and will eventually be reaching out to families. So yeah, everyone is just really risen to the occasion. But I appreciate your vote of confidence because it's just so uncharted. It's so unprecedented. In my whole career, I've never seen anything like this. So thank you very much.
Well, and to echo that, I mean, there's no question that every single person, beginning at the school level, with the principals, with their lead people, with every teacher, and the parents are really concerned and wanting to do what guidance is offered to them. So we're seeing an enormous sense of community spirit with appropriate caution, and probably even more caution coming. So thank you again. But let us know. I mean, if there are things that we can do as board members that we're not yet doing, let us know that as well.
Oh, definitely. I know that Jack is in touch with us every day. So Jack,
whether she wants it or not.
he's doing his job and then some. So, but thank you. I appreciate that.
A couple of suggestions, Lynn, just for you guys. One is, do put a call out for volunteers because, as Cheryl said, people are interested in volunteering possibly to read to kids, those sorts of things. If there are things that we can do, there are community members that can do them. I know Main Street Arts would be happy to do things in terms of providing also asked me what they might be able to do. So let's consider that. And the second item is consider doing a little video blurb similar to what you just did and just posting it online on a daily basis. Don't have to spend a lot of time on it, and it's faster than trying to write something. And that might be a way of just letting people know that you're on top of it and getting people used to using the website.
That one is a great suggestion. There's several reasons why we can't use volunteers at this point, but the video blurb is a great suggestion, and I'll certainly bring that up when our team meets, as we've been doing every day. So that's a great suggestion. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to, we have on the agenda, whoops, I just get kicked off.
Jack, are you still on your phone?
It looks like he may have been disconnected. We'll just give him a moment to get back in.
You can go right back to the website online on the district webpage and click, and it should be you'd be right back in. So we've got a lot of chats going on, so great. Hey, hello.
Jack back yet?
I suspect he's dialing in, probably.
Okay. I got thrown off also, but I'll go back.
Ricky, can you, how do I know if he's trying to join again? He's back, it looks like he's back in, but his phone and his video is cut.
Cheryl, is it appropriate? Are you there, Cheryl? Is it appropriate for you to continue the agenda while Jack struggles with the technical issues?
I was here. I thought I was unmuted, but I got muted again. Can you hear me?
Jack is back, but he's on the phone.
Oh, okay, then
I see his picture.
Okay, I'll go back on mute.
And can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. I think the next item on the agenda is the business of the leadership at the building level leadership. Is that correct?
It's on the agenda. What we're going to table that. Chris is asking.
That would be fine.
Thank you.
All right. Then we're done with all items on the superintendent. And moving on to principals reports, would that be correct?
Yes.
All right. So, Doug, I guess you're up.
Well, thanks. Hello, everyone. This is Doug Cassius, principal at Westminster Schools. Anything I had planned on sharing for the principal's report has obviously changed pretty dramatically over the past week. And I think Lynn kind of covered a lot of what's been happening, just a lot of organization and trying to get on top of our response system and what we're going to be able to do for families and stuff. And so I think all the elementary school principals were able to kind of get on the same page as far as like what our initial reach out and our initial continuation of academics is going to look like by getting out some learning packets, some at-home learning packets. And those are scheduled in various ways to be picked up on Wednesday at our school. We're staggering the pickup times just to try to comply with the social distancing mandate from the CDC and stuff. Those packets are, again, they're kind of like the first wave. And like Lynn said, we do have ideas for continuing that forward. But with those packets, the expectation is every teacher is reaching out to families at least once a week just to do some sort of like phone check-in or to do a Zoom or to do a Google Hangout. In some ways, trying to touch base with each family, making sure if they have any questions, but also just like keeping that relationship alive and not cold and digital, finding a way to keep that going. So that's been the majority of the work. Like Lynn said, not everyone, but people are starting to come back into the building tomorrow. We were fortunate before all of this happened to be able to hire a custodian. One of our custodians had resigned back in January now. And we posted that and got a lot of applicants through Indeed, and that helped out. And so we were able to hire a custodian. Craig Washburn is his name, and that's been working out great. And obviously at this time, it's been good to be up to full capacity with our custodial staff. Yeah, that's kind of what's been happening at Westminster.
You said that you have, sorry, this is Jack Breyer. you said that you have people coming into the building tomorrow. Did I misunderstand?
No, you're correct. So by people, I mean teachers. So staff, before we closed down or dismissed, as the technical term is, before the students were dismissed, we had begun preparations to have some sort of work for kids to do, or take home work, or remote learning work, or homeschooling work, if you will, but we haven't been able to finish that. And so we have a schedule set up, again, like Lynn was saying, to stagger the number of people who are in the building, and for us just to stagger so that people have access to the copier, things like that they're going to actually need. And that starts tomorrow. Today, custodians came back in and did a cleaning of the school, and we'll obviously continue that going forward. But
all right. Any questions, anybody?
This is David calling. Doug, can you hear me all right? Am I on?
Yep, I can hear you, David. Sorry,
Okay.
I'm nodding my head, but I forgot you're on a phone, so you can't see that.
Yeah. I turned off the computer.
Got it.
I had it on mute, but it still seemed to echo. So Lana is now, as you know, at Hilltop. They've been attempting to do morning meetings online at 9 in the morning every morning with the students and relevant teachers. An attempt to repeat a morning meeting, which they have usually at the Hilltop school. It's a pretty, as we can all tell from this meeting itself, it's not necessarily smooth, though they're all kids and they can work a little better online. I mean, with computers than fuddy-duddies can, like us. But I don't. Is there any? Is there any? Do you see the learning or schoolwork continuing just as from packets? Any online group things? How do you have any idea how that could happen, or is it, or what sort of what's practical?
Yeah, I think that last piece of what you're saying is kind of where we're trying to hit right now, is like what's practical. I think when we're in a situation that's feels chaotic, feels like it's moving super fast, feels just really uncertain, like your whole kind of world is uncertain right now. We're trying to make it sure that we can deliver on what we're promising and make sure that it's kind of steady and works. There's certainly been a lot of talk on the admin team and from several teachers contacting me about, hey, can we send the Chromebooks home, or can we do, is there a way to do remote learning? The high school and the middle school, who already have one-to-one, when kids were taking their computers back and forth and most of their stuff was already online in some capacity, it's a lot easier of a transition. For us, there's so many pieces to that I'm reticent to jump in and then have to clean up these pieces remotely. And so just to give you a quick example, like at the school where my kids are at, they jumped everybody into Google Classroom. The kids hadn't been in it before, but now they're trying to get into it for the first time. And they already had to shut it down because the kids hadn't been trained. And so they're Google hanging out with each other and inappropriate things. So there's these layers that we want to protect and make sure that when we do it, which if we're going to, obviously, if this gets extended, we can't keep sending home paper packets like Dr. Carey was saying, like we're going to have to make our programming more robust than that. But at this time, the kind of like the hold steady, like, get something out that's concrete, something doable, something achievable, something that we can be successful with. Sticking with the paper packets has kind of been where the elementary principals have landed.
Let me jump in here and suggest to all of us that there will be a lot of questions that people will want to ask. And what I'd like to do is to try to be the conduit for that. If you have questions for Doug or Liz that you didn't think to ask tonight, that you send them to me and I will format them up, send them to Lynn and the team, and they can get to them when they get a chance to. And that will be a way of kind of asking a lot of questions that I think a lot of us have or may have tomorrow when we start to think about all this. Nonetheless, I still want to do a roll call of my board. Melissa, any questions?
Just
Lynn,
shake your
any
head no.
questions? Okay. Well, I can't see anybody besides myself for some reason. Lynn, any questions?
None.
All right. Jess, are you there yet? Nope. Cheryl?
No questions right now.
All right. If I fail to ask somebody, because this format really is bothering me. Anybody else have a question? Hearing none, I'm going to ask Liz to step up. Liz, any further elaboration?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention two things that did happen for Grafton and our staff before, and our students before the school dismissal occurred. We were able to squeeze in our annual green eggs and ham breakfast March 4th. And all students were served breakfast, and the community member, Bill Watson, read to the whole school. That's an annual event. Children love it, and we look forward to it every year. So I want to thank the food services. They provided green eggs and ham for the whole school. We had a community breakfast, and we love having guest readers. So that was really great. Also, my classroom teachers and I were able to attend Fountas and Pinnell classroom training at Leslie University March 9th and 10th. We were able to head there before this COVID-19 really amped up and we were not able to get into Cambridge. So we were able to participate in a 2-day training around the reading system that we've been implementing all year. It was really timely. We had really pointed questions that we were ready to ask, and we walked away with tons of new learning. So the school dismissal really stopped us in our tracks because we had some real great momentum coming out of that training. So just to echo what Lynn and Doug had said, on Monday, our food delivery is going to start. Grafton will have 2 buses. One will go up to Athens and one will go towards Grafton. So there'll be 2 separate buses. They'll both leave Saxton's River Elementary. That's where our food is typically prepared. So it's the same in the coming weeks. Our food will be prepared in Saxton's River, and then the buses will leave around 9:30 to the typical bus routes. Just like Doug and Lynn had said before, March 25th, our packets will be available just from 8 to noon at the school. And if anybody is unable to come during that time, we can make separate arrangements to get work packets. My teachers have been working on the paper packets, reaching out to families, figuring out which works best for them, how their students specifically can access the learning. I know my kindergarten teacher has already looked into creating morning meetings through Zoom. Looking into Google Classroom for those teachers who have already used it. It makes more sense, but it's not universal, and the paper packets are really, it's going to be universal for all students. And I don't think I have anything additional to add other than what Liz and Doug had already said. It's really a surreal time. We're kind of learning it as we go and make what makes sense for our students and what is sustainable and what makes sense for these specific learnings. Any questions?
I think we heard somebody.
Liz.
Yes.
Lynn Morgan.
Hi.
I was wondering if they have trouble, if any of the parents have trouble picking up packets for their students, is that something that board members could come and pick up and deliver? Would that be a way we could help?
Yep, and the other option is because our food service is going to be delivered through the bus route. That's also another option. But I'll definitely reach out if we are really stuck and not able to get packets out to our families. Thank you so much.
That is so kind, Liz. But again, I think the guidance is pretty strict on volunteers. We're I think we're opening up to paras if they would like, because they're going to be paid, if they would like to be the volunteers on the bus. But every home will be reached, and we're actually hoping that more people will just stay home and get the resources off the bus than come in. But there's always people that they have to do it differently. But we will be going on the regular bus routes and stopping at all the homes. And hopefully that's how they will get their stuff. But right now we just want to limit our visits to homes just for the bus, and then hand it out from the back of the bus. And that kind of thing, unless the parents really want to come in, you know, and you can't stop them for wanting, you know, if they want to come in, it's kind of a drive-by, you know, they say, well, I'm here for a third grade packet. You know, you kind of open the door and you give them a third grade packet and the food. But when we are talking about delivering food 3 times a week to some of these families who don't have cars, who can't drive, they're going to depend on the bus. And the more people we get that can depend on the bus, the easier it'll be on us as well at the buildings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
our work packets will be outside of the school, so we won't have anyone coming into the school to pick up packets.
And right now, it's actually at the point where we're not asking for the papers to come back,
right?
Because there's some slight, minuscule, you know, nano chance that they could be contaminated from someone's home. But I still believe that through email and FaceTime and phone calls or whatever with the families, they'll get the feedback. You know, there will be feedback given to the students. But right now, today, it could change tomorrow, but today we don't have any plans to collect work that's completed at this time. We are hoping they save it so they can bring it in when we do return to school, but we don't have any major plans to collect work right now. It could change. Thank you.
Let me just add to what Lynn said. Lynn Morgan said. I did get a note from the I guess it's the emergency committee in Athens, saying that if there were services, including bringing stuff to people, food, whatever, that they would be ready to help. But again, if that's something you're not comfortable with, then that's fine too.
Yeah, we're following right now the guidance from the AOE. I'm sure that people should be out there helping people because that's what a real community does. But if it's in the name of the school, I think what we need to do is for equity sense, you know, everyone will have the same opportunity to get the stuff if they can't get into school. And if they want to come by the school, they can pick up their stuff. But we have to make it available to them in the safest way we can. So I don't think that we can actually ask people to put themselves in harm's way to do it unless they're totally willing. And that would be our employees.
That's fine. All right. I think then we're done on the principal's report part. Business manager, do we have anything to talk about?
Right now, and as you'll see in your packet, the plans were going pretty smoothly until this whole thing changed. And Chris is now the acting business manager. Edie, of course, is on FMLA. Chris is the acting business manager. We had the auditors in just about every day. They were in and helping us with that stuff. Right now, and he put it in his report, but we have Teresa is payroll and you know, staff accountant, and Joellen is really catching up on the you know, the benefits, the human resources side of things, and we have Shauna, and Marlene is still doing accounts payable, and Shauna's being very helpful in every way she can. So that's what we're running on now. They did interview 2 people, but they were not a good fit. And so we are still looking for the person we want to hire, and maybe someone else. I'm not sure. So that is kind of online. We can't do interviews at this point. So, but things are running okay. All purchases in the district are done April 1st. So, and I think right now nobody's really ordering anything anyway. So that's going to help us get really caught up to where we are. The auditors are still working on 2019 and they're uncovering things, and you know, I'm sure the reports will come through, but this shutdown of everything, I think, is actually helping the office to catch their breath a little bit, and just helping the auditors as they finish up 2019, and they will certainly be very helpful in looking at what we've done so far in 2020, because we are actually getting ready to close 2020.
If I might, do you need from us any sort of supplementary authorization to make purchases or anything of that type? That was circulated in some other districts as an issue.
Right now, no. The only thing I'm aware of right now is, and I can't speak to it, is a little bit of cash flow, but I think that's going to be backfilled because now we're taking the time to figure out where we are. And as far as purchasing things we don't need, we have the funding from the government for the food service and the payroll. We're all set there. It's just those extra things that usually at the end of the year you say, oh my God, I have $5,000 left in materials. Let's buy something. We're not doing that. We had already made the decision to stop buying April 1st. And in my sense, and I firmly believe by July 1, we will be so back on track, it will be better and stronger than we were.
Moving on, thank you. Moving on to the advisory committee members, if they would like to introduce themselves. And again, I can't see, I regret to say, oh, here we go, I can see. If people would like to sort of, again, introduce themselves and ask how they get dragged into this, they can, or we can just push that off to another day.
Yeah, do it
I'm going to
another
push
day.
that off to another day. I'm hearing that sounds good to me. All right, let's move on to number 6, which is old unfinished business. Obviously, everything here is been kind of thrown in the dumper for the moment. I did make an inquiry to find out if anybody knew anything about the Act 46 lawsuit. I spoke to David Kelly earlier today. David Major, have you learned anything? Because I didn't learn anything.
Only that the Supreme Court itself is putting things on pause. So I don't think I think it's just all on pause until the health situation gets better.
That's my take too.
Yeah, and my sense is that the annual meeting for the unified district will have to be postponed, and for a number of months.
I'll have stuff on that, David, in a minute. So we even have an item on that. So
perfect. All
right, then we're going to slide off into new business for discussion and action. Lynn, do you want to get into the whole business about principal positions, or do you want us to let that slide in the interest of brevity tonight?
All right, sorry about that. Actually, I think Chris is taking the lead on that, and he'd like to actually table that until things just really settle down.
That's fair.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
All right. I'm going to move to 7B, and this is the April 9th annual meeting prep. I've been in contact with both our moderator and a couple of occasions with the Secretary of State's office. Here is what they're telling me. Two parts. One is we could cancel the meeting. They recommended that we not do that simply because it would require 40 days of additional waiting, and there's no guarantee anything would be any better in 40 days. What they're suggesting we do is send out a note to all parties, put press release out and put it on the website that we are recommending people not attend the April 9th meeting, that we will have a minimum number of people, probably the board members, the appropriate distance apart, entertain a motion to recess the meeting to a date certain. It was suggested 3 weeks after April 9th, and resume. I was also told that the Secretary of State and the legislature are aware of our situation. We're not unique, and their recommendation is going to be to empower boards to move everything to Australian ballot without having to get the permission of the district meeting to do so. If we do that, we would then have nominations for board positions will not be required to collect ballots. They'll just simply notify me and the clerks of their intention. And we would put this on, we would put the approval of the budget as a ballot item, and we would probably hold an electronic town meeting, maybe a couple of them, as a substitute for the discussion, and that would be the process. That is still dependent on the legislature agreeing with this, but that is the recommendation that the Secretary of State's office is going with, and that was as of this morning. It sounded, David, it sounded like you had some information in addition to that, or is that your understanding as well?
Yeah, that's what I understand. I think just to clarify, people would not be required to get a number of signatures
right.
or to be as is usual with Australian ballot. It would just be if you would like to run, you can run. And that would be one of the items. I'm just repeating what you said. One of the items on the Australian ballot would be board members, and another item would be the budget.
Yeah. Jim Condos was most adamant that we are not going to try to do a digital meeting because he said it amounted to an election. And when he got done with me, he went on Vermont Public Radio and pretty much repeated the same thing to the audience. So any thought about that is now been put into the dumper for the moment. So that's the plan. I will send you this as a memo to all participants in the next day or so, particularly if there's any change in it, but just to summarize this for everybody's benefit. I will, unless there's an objection, I do plan to send out a note to communities and put something into the paper to the Reformer and possibly the Eagle Times to the effect of what we're planning on doing, and unless there's an objection or somebody that would rather write it than me. That's the plan. Are there any objections to that?
No objections from me, Jack. The only thing that I might add to that is the food is going to become increasingly important. It already is. Having that notice go to parents on the food route will be another way of. A letter from the board chair will be another way of boosting community relations, especially through the food, the 3 times a week food deliveries.
I like it. Okay, I'll put that as a delivery, put it up on the website, and any other venues we can think of to communicate to folks. All right, then that's the COVID-19. I'm going to guess we don't have any appointments unless I learned something right now. Oh, wait a minute. There was something else. let me just briefly tell you that there was before all heck broke out, discussion about awaiting a legislation that would change the formula by which we are, the equalized pupil count would be modified based on poverty rates. I have no idea. This is something David Scholes and others have talked about. I did go through the data. Westminster would be marginally affected to the positive. The town that would be most positively affected would be Athens and Rockingham within Windham County. It was about a 15% change in waiting for Athens. I have no idea if that is ever going to see the light of day, given what's going on right now. But I was originally planning on. Oops, I'm off. I'm off again.
I can hear you though. I can hear you.
Yeah,
Jeff.
well, we may go with that for the rest of the meeting. I think it's easier.
And just to say, Chris has alluded to the pupil waiting in. I can't read the page, but it's in his message to the community. The pupil waiting factors, and this was. They were going to hold a meeting on Wednesday, March 11th. I don't know what the update from that was, but it is.
I don't think they actually held the meeting. Is what my understanding was, but we'll have that discussion on a future date. Would be my recommendation. I think it's a good idea that the boards get on the record in favor of it, but let's put that in abeyance until either we have a better, we're more used to using Zoom, or until we can start to meet in person. I suspect nobody's going to be paying attention to anything for now. The final item I have here is, yes.
Sorry to interrupt. This is Doug. I forgot.
Hi, Doug.
You can't see the video. I raised my hand.
No.
Under the appointments, I guess I didn't look at the agenda carefully enough. Usually that says appointments, resignations, and I had a letter from Sue Lockerbie. Sorry, I see the dog in the pictures. Got distracted. I have a letter from Sue Lockerbie that I thought would fit under number 8.
Yes.
If we can, if you give me control, I can put it up on the screen for you.
All right, fine. That sounds great.
And I can read it to people who can't see it.
Yeah, I'm trying to get back on, so.
You want control, or do you want me to just put it up there?
Oh, you can just put it up there, Ricky, if you got it.
Yeah. Thanks, Ricky.
So the gist of this letter is that Susan Lockerbie, she's been working for a while and was hoping to be able to work part-time next year versus full-time. And so kind of like do a job share position to extend the length of her career. And so for people who can't see the letter, it says, "Dear Mr. Cusius, Mr. Pratt, and the WNUESD board, I am at a point in my career where I no longer wish to work full-time. My goal is to continue working at the Westminster School in a part-time school nurse position, utilizing a job share model. Please let this letter serve as my notice of resignation as FTE nurse at Westminster School, effective June 30th, 2020, contingent upon approval of the school nurse position becoming a job share position of 55%, 103 paid days, and 45%, 82 paid days, effective July 1st, 2020, and that I am hired for the 55% position. The remaining 45% position would be posted and filled in another highly qualified RN. Past and current job share positions with the WNESU clearly demonstrate that experienced staff working together in this capacity seamlessly provide quality healthcare services and education to our students. The proposed school nurse position at Westminster School will undoubtedly continue to provide safe, efficient, high-quality healthcare to students and staff. Respectfully submitted, Susan Lockerbie, RN, BSN, Westminster School Nurse."
So walk me through the implications of this, because I've been too busy flipping through screens to quite get. Do we have a action item here?
So, I mean, yeah, I guess basically the action item would be to vote to accept the resignation. She's basically asking to resign 45% of her position. The way that other nurses in the district have done this, it's been done before in different capacities, is you kind of have to resign all the way and then be hired back for part of it. And so that's basically what she's kind of putting in this letter, is that she would like to do that. She doesn't really want to work full-time anymore, but she does want to continue to work in some capacity. And it seems like a good thing for us because, you know, nurses are hard to find. And you know,
so you're recommending this, that we take this action, I gather, and the administration is doing that.
Yeah.
The only thing we need to be aware of is she did put a contingency there. So it says,
yes, and that's why I'm asking.
and even if we approve a position, 55 and 45, if we can't fill the position, then where are we? And that's the only question I have. You know, when people resign with contingencies, as we've seen earlier this year, it can become a little dicey. So
I'm also concerned that nurses are going to be in mighty short supply. You know, things have changed, as it were.
Yeah.
Is this something that absolutely needs to be acted on tonight? I mean, we can, but I just want to know.
No, I think Sue's concern was that the contracts would come out and that would make it messier. Probably everything will be delayed this year anyways, but usually contracts start coming out in April. And so she was just trying to be proactive and get this out before contracts were cut and that sort of thing.
All right. So what is the joint recommendation of our assistant superintendent and our principal in this matter?
I'm not sure what she's asking. Is she asking to be kind of like demoted to 55% as opposed to 100?
Right.
And then if we can't fill in the other 45%, what do we do? Does anyone have an idea?
Yeah, you know, I'm going to suggest here that you and Doug and perhaps Liz have this discussion ex parte and get back to us with a recommendation, and that way we'll be sure that everybody's on the same page. Is that okay with you guys?
Yeah, that makes great sense. Because I'm wary now because of some experiences we had when somebody's putting a contingency on their. Yeah.
Then I'm going to move. Yes.
Question, Liz, is Carol Bingham full-time at Grafton or part-time?
She works 4.5 days. So she's technically not full-time, but she's there every day.
Yeah, okay.
On Friday.
So that wouldn't work to blend her into that vacancy.
Like 85% maybe?
80%.
80%.
Well, again, I think that you guys just need to have a chat and then get back to us with a recommendation, and let's go with that. The only item I've got left here is organization of materials. I'm pulling my board now. Were you all able to find everything that you were expecting to find this evening in terms of your packet and all the other materials?
I was
a half hour late, but.
Who just spoke?
This is Lynn. I'm not sure that I got everything that we've been talking about. I had just one packet, and I had the principal. I didn't have the principal's reports in that. Were they supposed to be there?
We were actually told not to share them and that we just shared them at the meeting.
Okay. All right, fine.
Cheryl, were you able to get everything? Melissa, were you able to find everything?
Yes, I was.
All right.
I was. I keep on.
Go ahead. Jessa, I see you're here. Jessa?
Yes, I'm here, and I was able to get everything. I was just late getting on the call due to the other, due to everything.
Yep. Well, then maybe it's just me that's been having trouble finding stuff. And if that's the case, I'll work through with Rick. But I do want to try to organize the materials that I was able to see, so it's really easier for everybody to see what the packets are, see what the individual reports are, and gather them. I got on and I found something called packet, and it was not what I was expecting, and it had all sorts of weird things, Chinese lettering. I'm not quite sure what was going on with me, so maybe it's just my problem.
Right. While Rick is on the call, though, I don't know if anybody else addressed this. We absolutely have to have the meeting minutes uploaded to the website.
Rick, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm with you. So that's typically handled by the superintendent, administrative assistant, the secretary of the superintendent. I guess we
Okay.
have to go through.
Josh sends them to Sue, and Sue uploads them.
All right. Well, here's the problem, guys. Legally, our secretary of our board is legally on the hook if those minutes are not posted in a timely manner. That was another item I did discuss with Mr. Condos' assistant. And so we need to make certain, even though we all know that's not the process, she's responsible. And so we need to make certain, that they are there, because the board is the responsible party for ensuring it, not the administration. But since the administration does it, they got to do it.
Dare I ask who the secretary is?
I think I'm talking to her. So consider yourself having notified people.
Okay.
Actually, Wayne, are you the secretary? Maybe you're the secretary. I have to go look.
I might be the clerk.
I don't remember.
Well, I'll deputize the two of you jointly to harass Sue and anybody else you feel like you need to make sure that stuff is there.
Okay.
We used to, go ahead.
Jack, how quickly do the minutes get to Sue?
We need to
That would
ask
be something for Josh to answer.
Josh, can you chime in and let us know? Thanks.
Yeah, statute allows me 5 days to, edit them and give them to Sue. So within a 5-day period, they're given to Sue.
Okay.
So there you go.
As soon as Sue gets them from Josh, she puts them online.
Well, there have been some complaints that they weren't available, and I will share that because I couldn't find them at least once or twice. So for whatever that's worth.
Yeah, I've never been able to find them.
So if we can't find them,
that may just be my lack of skill.
If you can't find them, Lynn, they're not available, and that's my view. We're going to have the Lynn test for accessibility.
Okay.
All right.
Jack, this is Cheryl. If I can chime in for a second on this matter. I have gotten bounced off of the computer version of the Zoom call every few seconds tonight, so this has not been good. But related to this topic, when I go on and we do what Chris suggested today, and I go to the local school board, I find empty folders. But when I did a search in another direction, the minutes showed up. They seem to be there, but they're not properly organized. They're not. They're just not intuitive. They're not easy to find. They're not where they're supposed to be. And I know that Josh gets everything in on time. And I think there just may be some communication that needs to be improved about who's really supposed to do it by what date.
Yeah, and as I said, I mentioned earlier that I would work with I would work with Rick and I would work with Sue to get this stuff in orderly fashion. Because I mean, this is something I've done all my life for other organizations, so it's not hard. And you just have to do it the way I want everybody to be happy.
So I think it might be something between Rick and Sue, because it does look like Sue, they're getting to the Google Drive. They're just not referenced from the website. So I think, I don't know who does, which of you does that?
We have a new website, and the only board member right now that can see it is Melissa. And Melissa, did you see what Ricky did and how he was able to pull up the agendas in the meetings? Were you able to see that, Melissa?
I was able to start to do that, and then it went back to the agenda for the main screen.
Are you our test bed, Melissa?
Am I what?
Are you our official test bed?
Well, there is a simple way. You go on to the new website, and Ricky had actually done it. Ricky, can you do it one more time for us? For Melissa? There he goes. So now he's on the website.
I don't mean to interrupt. I think the core of what we, I'm sorry. I think the core of what we have going here is probably just a training issue. So we're just going to readdress some training to make sure that they're going into the right folder, being uploaded into the right folder. But from the main site, you just hover over boards and then you pick your applicable board, or you could just jump to whatever section you want. Down at the bottom of the page are the minutes, center is agendas, and top is the board members. I do see that it is registering 0 items in here, so we're gonna work through that.
All right. Well, more on that to be dealt with later on. Then I'm noticing and cognizant of the time. I told people we'd be done in 45 minutes. We're half an hour short of that. I would ask people, moving on to item 11, that if you have agenda items, you email them to me and or call me, or both, and that includes not only the board members, but all of our advisory folks as well. I hope that will be acceptable. Moving on to item 13, which is adjournment, my favorite part of the meeting. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Jack, did we do director's comments? I'm sorry.
We didn't, and I looked right at it and skipped over that. Sorry. Then let's move 9 down and do director's comments and do a round robin. And why don't you start, since you've started talking?
All right. Happy to. Well, so from a technical point of view, I would say, whereas I participate in other Zoom calls, one today with Antioch, another one a couple of days ago, this one, I've never been bounced off as often as I was tonight. And Ricky, I'm wondering, this is a question for you, whether it might be because we were live streaming it. I wonder whether that might have just strained the system. It's just a question, because it was literally a phenomenon where I would be bounced off every few seconds. So I was getting a lot of every other word oftentimes.
Yeah.
Actually, it was more than, it was like 20 seconds in between every drop, and then I'd be back on for a while. So let's see if we can improve that, because I do think we have to be able to work remotely like this. Obviously, we do. The second point I would make is that a real welcome to those town school board advisory committee members. Thank you for joining us, and hang in, because, you know, now more than ever, it takes more minds than a few to help with the kinds of challenging things that we're all working with here. And thirdly, Jack, I look forward to the written version of what you were talking about today with the implications for the annual meeting, to make sure that all of us can see it in a thorough way and reflect and interact with you on that. And that's it from me. Thank you.
All righty, got it. Jessa?
Sorry. No, and I'm not having any problems with Zoom, and I use Zoom all the time. Although I will say pretty much any service that's being used work from home has been stretched thin this week. But I am not using my computer audio. I'm actually called in on the phone, and I don't know if that has any difference. The only person I've had trouble hearing a little bit is Melissa. She's been breaking up slightly, but everybody else seems fine. And I'm actually on Wi-Fi calling right now, so I don't have any further comments.
If I could just ask, I thought that if we had the computer screen up and we also were using phone, we'd get feedback. Not so? How does that work?
No. So when you join the meeting, you can by phone, and then when you join the Zoom meeting on your computer, little things you can say use computer audio, or I've already called in code you put into your phone with like the pound signs. And that way it joins your call. So when I mute myself on the computer screen, it knows that my phone audio is connected to this computer Zoom session.
Thank you so much. And Jack, is that what you were doing?
Turn on.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
Jessica.
I think, yeah, you just say if you've called in, when Zoom pops up, you can say, usually you click on use computer, my camera, which I'm not going to for you people, but there's, when you say I've already called in on phone, it'll pop up with a code.
I've got a 9932 46 922, and that was the meeting ID, and then you have your own personal code that it gives you, and that's how you do it.
Thank you.
All right, Melissa.
I guess I just want to know much systems, rules of all different things, ins and outs that everybody's been in. So I just really appreciate your dedication and going over and beyond right now. Thank you.
All right, and Lynn.
Nothing.
All right. Let's when if you or I maybe you can check in with Charles to see if he tried to get in or if he was unavailable tonight.
I will call him. Yep.
All right, fine. I don't want people technically kicked out of full participation in this process.
Right.
All right. Then back to number 13, which is, as I said, my favorite. I will, unless there's an objection, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Even though we're all supposed to identify ourselves when we do these roll calls, I, in my judgment, I understood who everybody was. It was unanimous, Josh. And so we will adjourn until April 16th. I reserve the right to call you all in before then. We obviously will meet in a very brief format for April 9th, and I will send you a summary of the